where the moon lights.
An excellent day for an exorcism.
I'm your number one fan.
Hey up and welcome back to Rate Scary. My name is Zara and this is your roundup of horror news from the last week. First up, some horror news that is hot off the press, and that is that Netflix are bringing back Stephen King's Cujo with a new film. Yes, that's right, the killer canine is coming back to bite once more, and Netflix is developing a brand new Cujo movie. Stephen King's novel was originally published in 1981, and then we had a horror film adaptation that was a couple of years later in 1983. It starred Dee Wallace, who I thought was absolutely fantastic in it, and I am very excited about the prospect of a new Cujo film. As yet, we don't have any more information on this, but as soon as I hear anything, I will let you know. Speaking of Stephen King, Mike Flanagan is adapting The Life of Chuck and has recently released a poster highlighting what is a hugely star-studded cast. Now, Life of Chuck is a novella from Stephen King. It's from his 2020 collection, If It Bleeds. And once again, Mike Flanagan is at the helm. He has previously done Gerald's Game and also done Doctor Sleep. And he's also developing a series based on The Dark Tower. So he is clearly a Stephen King fan and he does a really, really good job of it. We've got Tom Hiddleston, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Annalise Basso, Benjamin Pajak, Karen Gillan, Mia Sara, Matthew Lillard, Carl Lumbly, Samantha Sloyan, Harvey Guillen, Jacob Tremblay, Kate Siegel, of course, because she is Mike Flanagan's better half, and also Mark Hamill. So, and the poster details all of those names as well. I think it's a great looking poster and I'm very, very excited for this. A film that I have talked about on here before, The Ugly Stepsister, is coming to theatres in April. So this has just had its premiere at Sundance. You might have heard about a situation where one of the people watching the film actually vomited in the aisle while watching the film, but it has now got a release date from IFC Films and from Shudder, and that is the 18th of April 2025. Now, I don't know if this is going to be in UK cinemas, purely US cinemas. I haven't seen any more detail other than the 18th of April, but I am keeping everything crossed given Shudder is behind this. We should get a UK release. Now for some news on a franchise that I absolutely love, and I love it even more as each installment comes out, and that is A Quiet Place. And we finally have an update on A Quiet Place Part 3, because apparently this trilogy ender is taking shape and further films are actually a strong possibility, especially after the success of last year's A Quiet Place Day 1. Now, it's been 5 years since we had A Quiet Place Part 2, so it's been a little while, and that is mainly down to how busy John Krasinski has been since that released. But apparently producer Brad Fuller has provided an update and said that John Krasinski is working on a film at the moment, but hopefully once he's finished that, he is going to turn his attention to A Quiet Place Part 3. And he's also teased that we all want to finish that trilogy, and I'm hopeful that there are even more Quiet Place movies beyond that. And it's also expected that Emily Blunt is going to return for Part 3, which I think is fantastic because I absolutely love her. So stay tuned for more on that one. Now, if we're going to talk about a franchise that features the end of the world, then it would be impossible for me to not mention The Last of Us, because season 2 has just had its trailer revealed at South by Southwest at the weekend, and it's gotten people very, very excited. And we've had the news that it is going to premiere on the 13th of April this year, so not long to wait either. Now, we've got a returning cast, which includes Pedro Pascal and, of course, Bella Ramsey. We've also got Gabrielle Luna and Retina Wesley, and there have been some fantastic posters that have been released. I've talked about this on a previous episode of Horror News, and it is also looking more and more likely that in this second season, while it does adapt the video game Part 2, we're not going to expect to see the entire game's events play out over one season, and it is probably going to be spread out over 2, if not 3. I am very jealous of everyone who got to see this in live time at South by Southwest. And speaking of which, there have been some fantastic premieres at the festival. There's been films like Drop, Clown in a Cornfield, Death of a Unicorn, which has had mixed feelings, The Surrender, Good Boy, The Surfer, so much. And I cannot wait. It seems like we've got a really, really great year for horror. Another film that actually had its premiere over the weekend, not at South by Southwest, but instead at Fright Fest UK in Glasgow, Rumpelstiltskin. Now, I think most people will know the story of Rumpelstiltskin, and apparently this film breathes new life into that old children's story. It's got very creepy looking Rumpelstiltskin based on the trailer alone, and it's set to come to video on demand in the UK on the 7th of April and in the US on the 8th of April. So for once, we're actually getting something ahead of the US, which is very, very exciting. And then lastly, to finish on even more exciting news, Train to Busan director Yeon Sang-ho is making a new zombie movie, and at the moment the working title is Gunch. And apparently, while we don't have an English title for the film yet, in the Korean language, Gunch means colony in a biological context. So that makes sense for a zombie film. Now, I absolutely love Train to Busan. It is probably one of my favorite ever zombie films, and that is really saying something. Came out all the way back in 2016, so we're coming up to 10 years now since that release. It then had an animated prequel, which was Seoul Station, and then later we had a 2020 live action sequel to Train to Busan, which was Peninsula. There doesn't seem to be any details yet about whether this is going to be animated or if it's going to be live action. My fingers are crossed for live action, because if he can repeat that same feeling that we had in Train to Busan, which was terrifying and heartbreaking at the same time, then I am all in. But that is it for this week's horror news. If you enjoyed that, please do stick around. I release an episode every single week bringing you the latest horror news. Is there anything that I've missed? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to follow along on socials. But for now, see thee with thee sen. I'll see thee soon.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
I'll be right back.
Game over. It's all for you.
Beware the moonlights.
An excellent day for an exorcism.
I'm your number